Picture yourself standing in the heart of the Arctic where bone-chilling temperatures freeze engines solid. Razor-sharp winds slice through everything. Endless white stretches in every direction. Conditions this brutal, only one type of machine guarantees your survival. These are the giants of ice. You might recognize a few names, but I promise there are trucks on this list that even the most hardcore off-road fans have never laid eyes on. Now think about this for a second. What does a machine look like when it's built to cross frozen oceans? How would it feel to command something that massive? Imagine the roar of that beast echoing across the endless white wasteland. If massive extreme vehicles get your blood pumping, then buckle up tight. You're about to discover the largest Arctic expedition off-road trucks ever created. Ready to meet these frozen desert giants? Number 10. Comma 6345. Measuring over 10 meters long, standing nearly 3 meters tall and tipping. The scale's at more than 20 tons. The Comma's 6345 ranks among the most impressive Russian-made giants ever built. This machine was designed to conquer the harshest regions our planet has to offer. Engineers created this beast in the 2000s for places where roads don't even exist. The Arctic Circle, frozen Siberia, remote territories where even GPS signals disappear into thin air. Every cubic meter was engineered for survival, for range, and for massive transport capacity. The extended frame and raised cab allow crews to carry heavy equipment, plus extra fuel, and even complete life support containers with beds and heaters and food supplies, all integrated into one system. The truck runs on a 17-liter V8 diesel engine that pushes out around 360 horsepower. That's more than enough muscle to move this massive frame across frozen terrain. The 8x8 drivetrain teams, up with reinforced suspension to let it glide over deep snow and cracked ice and soft ground without ever sinking down. Inside, you'll find a spacious cab that's fully insulated and climate-controlled, offering everything a crew needs to operate for weeks in frozen regions. The tire pressure control system operates directly from the cabin and lets the driver adjust tires for deep snow or hardened frozen ground. Russian oil and gas companies use the Comma's 6345 extensively, along with Arctic science expeditions. Its size serves another critical role that many people overlook. It works as shelter. In countless situations, the Comma's becomes survival on wheels. Some versions came fitted with rooftop modules that transformed the vehicle into a mobile support base, turning it into a military-style Arctic motorhome. But if you think the Comma's is big, just wait until you see what comes next. Number 9. ZIL E-167. At the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union needed vehicles that could cross vast, unforgiving Arctic regions, places with no roads and no infrastructure where the cold could literally crack steel like glass. The ZIL E-167 was born in this exact context, becoming one of the boldest off-road trucks ever built by Soviet engineering. Developed in 1962 by the renowned manufacturer ZIL Zavod Imeni Lyakachova, the E-167 was a one-of-a-kind prototype designed to operate in extreme environments. The Siberian tundra, frozen swamps, deep snow that went on forever. Just looking at this machine tells you everything you need to know about its scale. Over 8.2 meters long, 2.9 meters tall, nearly 3 meters wide, weighing over 7 tons. Its appearance landed somewhere between a military truck and a space rover. The most striking feature was its 6 massive wheels, each equipped with 1.6-meter-tall low-pressure tires, designed specifically to move across soft snow and unstable ground. Its 6x6 drivetrain allowed each axle to receive independent torque, crucial for staying mobile on slippery, obstacle-ridden terrain. But what really set the ZIL E-167 apart was its unique engine configuration. It had 2 ZIL 167 V8 gasoline engines, each producing 180 horsepower mounted side by side under the hood. That's a combined 360 horsepower, distributed through a specially engineered transmission. The cab was pressurized and thermally insulated with heating systems and cold start systems to help fire up the engines in temperatures as low as negative 50 degrees Celsius. During testing, the ZIL E-167 covered over 15,000 kilometers in brutal terrain. Deep snow, frozen rivers, dense Siberian forest proving its unmatched mobility in landscapes where even military trucks would fail. Still, it never reached mass production. High cost and mechanical complexity and massive fuel consumption kept it from going further. Yet it became a symbol of Soviet Arctic engineering, and the only unit ever built is now preserved at the Vadim Zadorozhny Technical Museum in Russia. It may not have been a commercial success, but the ZIL E-167 was a legendary experiment, a colossus on wheels built to conquer cold and isolation and the wild unknown. Enjoying this journey through the giants of ice? Then smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the monsters we still have coming up. And now, if you thought this was over the top, the next one abandons wheels entirely and jumps straight into tank-style tracks. Number 8. FWD-MM-1 Terra Cruiser. Back in the 1950s, the United States faced a serious logistical challenge. How could they transport heavy tactical equipment like radar systems and mobile antennas across regions with absolutely no roads? Just mud and snow and unstable ice everywhere you looked. The answer arrived with the FWD-MM-1 Terra Cruiser. This large, robust, and highly versatile truck was designed to tow military equipment solo with a total focus on mobility and autonomy. Built by FWD Corporation, the MM-1 measured roughly 10 meters long, stood nearly 3 meters high, and weighed around 10 tons. Its presence intimidated everyone with those massive low-pressure tires standing over 1.5 meters tall, built specifically to float over snow or cruise across swampy terrain without sinking. A V8 gasoline engine powered the beast and pushed out around 400 horsepower connected to a full-time 4x4 drivetrain. But what really made the MM-1 stand out was its ability to operate in extreme Arctic environments, while towing specific modules like the AN/FPS-63 mobile radar and generator trailers and communication systems. Its size had one clear purpose: to transport a single critical piece of gear with enough power and independence to go where no other truck could venture. It saw heavy use during construction of the DW Line A chain of radar stations built across northern Canada and Alaska to detect potential Soviet attacks. In regions where temperatures hit -50 degrees Celsius and the landscape was nothing but ice, the MM-1 became one of the few trucks that could make the trip without any external support. Despite its simple design, the visual presence was absolutely unforgettable. Tall and wide with inflatable tires and a reinforced cab. The deep engine roar echoing across the ice only added to its military mission aura. It may be smaller than some other monsters on this list, but it pioneered a new era in Arctic extreme mobility. Next up comes a Soviet legend, one of the most impressive trucks ever built for polar operations. Number 7. Ural 592. In the 1980s, Soviet industry faced a massive logistical challenge. How could they move heavy cargo through icy, swampy terrain, where even their best 6x6 trucks couldn't venture? The answer was the Ural 592. The Kresoy vehicle ditched wheels completely in favor of tank-style tracks, transforming into a true hybrid between a truck and a military crawler. Developed by the Ural Auto Factory, the 592 was engineered specifically for low-resistance terrain. Frozen tundra, deep snow, wetlands, sludge. Its chassis was based on the Ural 375D, but modified to ride on a double-track system, connected by a central articulated joint, allowing it to bend in the middle for easier turning and maneuverability. The full setup stretched around 11 meters long, 3 meters wide, stood over 3 meters tall, and weighed about 13 tons. It ran on a Yamaha 238 diesel V8 with 14 liters of displacement, producing between 210 and 260 horsepower. Modest by size, but tuned for continuous low-end torque, which is exactly what you need to slowly push through extreme conditions. The true highlight was the dual continuous tracks, each measuring nearly 4 meters long, made of reinforced rubber and wide enough to spread the vehicle's weight evenly. This gave the Ural 592 ultra-low ground pressure, allowing it to float across soft snow or thin ice without sinking. an absolute must in regions like Siberia and Yamal and Russia's far north. The oil and gas industry used it mostly for transporting gear and supplies to places where helicopters couldn't land and no wheeled vehicle could reach. While not well known outside Russia, the Ural 592 remains a benchmark in track-based vehicles designed for extreme climates. Many units were upgraded with heated cabs and engine warmers and compact sleeping quarters, making the beast a full-blown tracked mobile base. And if that's not impressive enough, up next is one of the newest and smartest Arctic vehicles ever built. Crafted not by a factory, but by Russian adventurers determined to drive to the North Pole. Number 6. Burlak Snow Truck. While most vehicles on this list were born in military factories, the Burlak is a rare exception. And perhaps that's exactly why it's one of the smartest. Designed by independent Russian engineers, the Burlak Snow Truck was built specifically for self-sufficient Arctic expeditions. And yes, it actually drove to the North Pole across the ice. At 6.2 meters long and 3 meters wide and 2.8 meters tall, and weighing around 4.5 tons, the Burlak isn't the biggest here, but it looks like a mini space rover on wheels built to carry people and cargo through environments where any failure could prove fatal. Its structure is built on a light tubular steel chassis with independent suspension and 6 massive low-pressure tires, each measuring about 1.75 meters in diameter, fully inflatable with onboard pressure adjustment. That means the Burlak can float over soft snow and even cross partially frozen lakes. That's right, it's amphibious. Power comes from a Cummins 2.8 ISF turbo diesel, engine producing 150 horsepower and 316 newton-meters of torque at just 1,800 RPM. Optimized for low-end power and fuel efficiency, thanks to additional fuel tanks and complete thermal insulation, it can drive over 2,000 kilometers without resupply. Inside the Burlak is a mobile survival shelter with beds and a stove, and a heating system, and solar panels and space for up to 4 crew members to live and work for weeks. It successfully completed a Russia to North Pole over ice expedition, on a route once considered impossible for wheeled vehicles. Unlike the Soviet monsters, the Burlak is lightweight and mobile, and comfortable without sacrificing strength. Its success drew attention from international expeditions and scientific teams and documentary crews worldwide. And if that's the face of a new generation, the next one on the list is a throwback to old-school brute force. A massive mining truck redesigned for frozen terrain. Number 5. Kress HT 730C. The Kress HT 730C, born from a partnership between Kress and Caterpillar, is one of those monsters engineered to survive the coldest corners of the planet, where conventional transport simply doesn't cut it. This articulated tractor truck was built for operations in frozen regions like the Canadian Arctic and northern Alaska, and Antarctic bases. With an articulated chassis and 6x6 drive, the Kress offers surprising maneuverability for its size. The center hinge design allows it to handle tight turns, even when pulling loads of up to 200 tons. Under the hood sits a Caterpillar C13 6-cylinder diesel engine, delivering 370 horsepower. But more importantly, it's equipped with extreme cold start systems, capable of running in temperatures as low as -60 degrees Celsius without needing external preheating. Built for rugged terrain, it uses multi-disc oil, cooled air brakes, and engine retarder with 250 kilowatts of braking power and ABS to keep it safe on icy slopes and sharp turns. The cab is fully climate-controlled with Webasto heating and air conditioning, ensuring the crew stays warm and alert. And just in case things go wrong, the HT 730C comes with a hydraulic winch for self-recovery essential in terrain, where getting stuck can be deadly. Visually, it's a beast. Tall and wide and fitted with massive tires. The sound of its diesel engine echoing across the frozen plains is absolutely unforgettable. Despite being a modern machine, it's still relatively unknown outside technical circles. In the world of extreme logistics, though, there's no confusion. This truck is a reference point for performance on ice. And if you thought this was wild, wait until you meet the next one. It doesn't just roll. It floats on giant inflatable wheels bigger than your car's hood. Number 4. Crowley Catco Rollagon. When it comes to Arctic mega machines, few are as bizarre or as brilliant as the Rolagon. This truck looks more like a motorized air mattress rolling on pillow-sized tires that seem too big to be real. Developed by CATICO, which stands for California Arctic Transport Company, and operated by Crowley, the Rolagon was created to solve a simple but deadly problem. How do you transport tons of supplies across soft snow or permafrost without sinking? The solution? Build a truck with giant low-pressure inflatable wheels, each measuring up to 2.4 meters in diameter, capable of distributing the vehicle's weight so evenly that it floats over the snow. That's why the nickname Rolagon stuck. Some versions stretched up to 12 meters long and stood 3.5 meters high and could haul over 30 tons of gear. The frame was reinforced but kept light-built to withstand extreme cold in Alaska and northern Canada. Depending on the setup, it had 6x6 or 8x8 drive and was powered by Caterpillar diesel engines ranging from 200 to 300 horsepower. Visually, it was surreal. Huge tires and a stretched-out body and a smooth, gliding movement over snow and ice like it was floating. The Rolagon was used to carry fuel and communications towers and building materials, often into remote Arctic villages and oil fields or scientific outposts. Here's a fun fact. Many of these trucks were hand-built by CATCO staff, using parts from tractors and school buses and modified rigs. It was pure DIY survival engineering. Its unique wheel design became so iconic that Rolagon is now used worldwide to describe any low-pressure, tire Arctic vehicle. And if you love seeing raw engineering go head-to-head with nature, now's a great time to like this video. Subscribe and ring the bell, because what comes next is another level. A Soviet tank-based truck that looks like a polar locomotive. Number 3. Kharkov-Chanka. Few vehicles in the world carry as much historical weight and literal weight as the legendary Kharkov-Chanka. This Soviet-built track truck was created to conquer Antarctica in the 1950s. Developed in 1959 by the Kharkov tractor plant in Soviet Ukraine, this monster was based on the ATT military tank chassis and completely redesigned to become a mobile survival base in the most extreme climate on Earth. It measured 8.5 meters long, 3.5 meters tall, over 3 meters wide, and weighed about 24 tons. Its wide tank tracks inherited directly from the ATT helped distribute its weight and provided traction over any frozen surface. Deep snow, cracked ice, steep inclines. Originally powered by a 38.8-liter V12 diesel engine producing 995 horsepower, yes, nearly 1,000, the Kharkov-Chanka Expedition version was tuned down to around 600 horsepower in favor of durability and fuel efficiency. Inside, it was fully insulated with heating systems and bunk beds and a working table and a kitchen, and communications gear. Enough space for up to 8 crew members to live and work for weeks. In other words, the Kharkov-Chanka wasn't just a truck. It was a house on tracks with full autonomy. It was used during Antarctic expeditions throughout the Cold War, especially at Vostok Station, where temperatures could plunge below -80 degrees Celsius. In such conditions, it was the only reliable vehicle capable of traveling hundreds of kilometers without support. Its silhouette is unmistakable. A boxy cabin mounted over huge tank treads resembling a heavily armored train car. A few units still exist today and have been restored for exhibitions and documentaries. Even modern polar vehicles still draw inspiration from the original Kharkov-Chanka design. But if you think nothing could be larger, the next one isn't just a truck. It's a rolling freight train with engines and wagons, and nearly 2 football fields of length. Number 2. Overland train. Mark II. Ever heard of a train without tracks? Well, Le Tourneau built one, and it rolled across the ice. The Overland Train. Mark II, also known as the TC-22 Snow Freighter, was a groundbreaking project from the late 1950s. Developed for the United States Army with one bold goal: to transport massive supplies across the Arctic without ships or planes or railroads. The full convoy had 7 modular trailers, all hydraulically linked and pulled by a command unit called the LCI-1 Logistics Cargo Carrier. In total, the machine stretched an unbelievable 173 meters long, capable of hauling over 150 tons of cargo. The engine room housed a 600 horsepower turbo diesel, which generated electricity to power electric motors on every wheel, creating a distributed traction system that allowed the train to move across snow and ice and frozen wetlands. Each wheel stood 2.5 meters tall. The train could reach speeds of 30 kilometers per hour, slow but steady enough to cross the Arctic without roads. The elevated command cab had heating and radio communication and snow navigation systems, allowing the crew to operate in complete isolation. The overland train was mainly used to supply DW line radar stations in northern Canada, a Cold War network built to detect incoming Soviet threats in regions where roads didn't exist. Although functional, it was too expensive and complex to maintain. Once heavy-lift cargo planes became more reliable, the overland train was retired, but its legacy remained. It inspired films and video games and futuristic vehicle designs. Part of the train is still preserved today at the Yukon Transportation Museum, standing as one of the largest land machines ever built. And now, it's time. Number 1 on our list is a colossal failure and one of the greatest polar trucks ever built. Number 1. Antarctic Snow Cruiser. Few vehicles carry a name as bold as their mission, and none are as legendary or controversial as the Antarctic Snow Cruiser, the largest polar off-road truck ever built. Designed in 1939 in the United States, the Snow Cruiser was meant to be a mobile Antarctic research lab developed by the Second Bird Antarctic Expedition. The goal was ambitious: to let a scientific team live and work and cross Antarctica for months with no outside support. The structure was jaw-dropping: 17 meters long, almost 5 meters wide, 4.5 meters tall, weighing over 34 tons. For reference, that's bigger than a modern double-decker bus. And this was the 1930s. It rolled on 4 enormous tires, each nearly 3 meters tall, with no tracks or chains. The idea was that these high flotation tires would glide across snow without sinking, but that never really worked. Its powertrain was revolutionary for the time: a diesel engine powering electric generators which fed electric motors on each wheel, similar to systems later used in trains and tanks. It made around 300 horsepower, had full heating and pressurization, and could theoretically survive Antarctica for months. The interior was even more futuristic. It had a research lab and storage for fuel and food and living quarters, and a control room. Even a rooftop hangar with a folding airplane. Yes, the plan was to carry a plane on top of the truck. But in reality, the Snow Cruiser failed almost immediately. Upon arrival in Antarctica, it couldn't get traction. The tires slipped constantly and got stuck. It traveled just a few kilometers before being abandoned, and the team continued by more conventional means. Even so, it became a legend: the largest polar truck ever built, and a symbol of the fine line between engineering ambition and cold reality. Years later, in the 1950s, a U.S. expedition rediscovered the Snow Cruiser buried under snow, but still mostly intact. But after that, it was lost again. Some believe it's now buried dozens of meters deep somewhere in the Antarctic. A frozen ghost of American engineering. It may not have completed its mission, but it inspired generations of engineers to think big. Literally. From the ice fields of Alaska to the frozen heart of Antarctica, these trucks proved that human engineering can face down any extreme. Each one represents more than just brute force. They're symbols of innovation and survival and daring in places where most people wouldn't even dare to walk. These aren't just machines. They're rolling legends. Giants that conquered the cold and crossed white deserts. In some cases, vanished beneath the ice, leaving behind epic stories that few have ever heard. So now tell me in the comments, which one did you not even know existed? Have you ever seen one up close? And if you could bring one back into action, which of these beasts would you choose to revive? And of course, if you love this kind of content with extreme machines and real history and boundary-pushing engineering, be sure to subscribe. Ring the bell and stick around, because every week there's a new video featuring the most incredible vehicles that conquer ice and snow and the world's wildest extremes. See you in the next one.